So the day that I ended up actually coming out to my parents, again, it wasn't something that I had planned. I didn't, think, by this date I'm going to do it, or even woke up that morning and thought this is the day, this is it. I'm going to tell my parents about my sexuality. I remember that it wasn't until the last period. I was in high school at the time. This was probably about, I want to say, a couple months before I graduated from high school. It was the last period, and I suddenly had this rush of courage that kind of surged through me. I feel like I was given this surge or a rush for a reason. I think I've got this gut feeling that I should use it to maybe bring up the courage to tell my parents. So we finally had dinner that evening, and then I said to my parents, Mom, Dad, I just wanted you to know that I'm not straight. See, even at that point, I couldn't even say the words "I'm gay." I had such a difficulty with it. I was still struggling with it. That even when I was coming out to my friends, the way I came out to them was by saying I'm not straight. Because I think it took a year for me to actually be able to formulate in my mouth the words "I am gay." But anyway, that's what I said, and as soon as I said that, I was about to continue on and say some other things. Um, my mom immediately said, "No, you're wrong. Like you think you're gay, but you're wrong. Trust me. Trust me. You're you're actually straight." Um, and that kind of took me aback. I was kind of surprised that that was the response that I was given. And, I tried to continue saying what I wanted to say because, I mean, this was something I was dealing with. I had dealt with by myself for 7 years. So I had a good 7 years worth of things that I wanted to express, I wanted to tell them. But instead, my mom kind of just cut me off and started lecturing me, started going on and on and on about why it's wrong, why, how dare I even think of such a thing. And being the kind of son that, you respected, especially in my culture, in Philippine culture, you respected what your parents said and you do not interrupt them. You do not interrupt them and you just let them speak. And I didn't really get much of a chance to get in a word really that much at all. And, you know, my mom just kept going and was talking about how disappointed she was in me. And it was very, very difficult because, in my opinion, it wasn't really much of a conversation. Um, and I just felt like I really wanted to fall into a black hole at that point. Um, my mom is very, very Catholic. She's very, very conservative Catholic. And many of the reasons why she's totally against it, as a Catholic myself, I understand, is for religious reasons. My father is against it, but more so, not so much so in a religious way, but more so in a practical way. Like, he sees homosexuality, as far as I understand it, he sees it as a disease or a sickness, something that needs to be cured or fixed. Not because necessarily there's something wrong with me per se, but because he believes, and he's right, that it's a difficult lifestyle. It's a difficult lifestyle to have to deal with, at least in this day and age. Another reason why I think that my parents were struggling with this a bit is because in our culture, in Philippine culture, and I guess this might be kind of a stereotypical Asian thing, um, there's that sense of honor, there's that sense of pride, especially when you're talking about your family and your children. Um, One of the things that happens a lot, that I notice happens a lot with Filipino women, is that, when they get together, they like to gossip. And the things they like to gossip about are their kids. You know, my son's got straight A's at his report card. My daughter, is first chair violin in the orchestra. My son is star quarterback on the football team. Things like that. They enjoy trying to one up each other. And I guess um, there are a lot of people in that situation who may not necessarily be quick to say, "Oh yeah, well, my son is into dudes." Yeah, haha. My parents actually got very, very upset. They actually got really angry when they discovered that I had actually started telling my friends about my sexuality before bringing it up to them first. And they did ask me that evening why I why I was telling my friends about my business, my personal business, why I was bringing this up to them before my own family. My response to that was because honestly, if this was my first impression of what it's like to come out to someone after hiding it for 7 years, then I probably wouldn't have ended up hiding it for another 7 years after that. I don't know where I would be today if I didn't come out to my friends first and didn't have the much needed support that I really needed. The hardest thing for me about the whole situation with my parents was I spent my entire life, my my entire 18 years of my life up to that point, trying to be the best son that I could be for my parents. Um, I did very, very well in school. Um, I tried to be very, very involved with, extracurricular activities. Was president of this. I did SGA. Um, I didn't get into drugs. I didn't get into smoking. I didn't get into, any of the things that a lot of parents, most parents, I think, hope that their teenagers, their kids, don't, get themselves into. Um, you know, I, I think I had a good number of friends, and people seemed to like me and think of me as a good person. I was, I had a very good spiritual background. Respected my parents very, very much. So yeah, I tried really, really hard to be a good kid, to be a good son. I think that I gave my parents, comparatively, I think that I made it easy for them. I'd like to hope I made it very easy for them as parents. And what hurt the most is that in a second, like the moment I told them that I was gay, that was in that moment, none of it mattered anymore. I was automatically a bad kid. I was automatically a disappointment to them, automatically a horrible son. They didn't actually say that to me, but that's what it felt like when we had that conversation. Um, and that was very, very painful. That I had gone through so much, I had put in so much effort into being a good kid, only for it to be in vain, only to find out that that didn't mean nearly as much, at least it felt like it didn't mean nearly as much as my sexuality did.